Welcome to the Media Sales Certification Program powered by Local Media Association. I'm Peter Conti, the program's director. The Fundamentals Media module prepares a media sales professional to successfully present effective advertising solutions that drive client value and generate measurable sales results. The Fundamentals Media module is made up of a variety of sessions that cover everything from digital marketing to how to sell an integrated print and digital solution. This is session number 2, the buying cycle. In this session, we will examine the fundamentals of the basics of the buying cycle. This session is a strategic view of the sales process that will build a foundation and your confidence as you improve your sales skills with the tactics to come in the following sessions. First, we have the personal sales plan, and second, the 5 steps of buying decisions. Before we look at the 5 steps of the buying decisions, let's look at your personal sales plan. Having a plan before you start selling will help you set sales goals and document ways to achieve these goals. A plan will help you determine how much of your product or service you need to sell to reach these goals. In session 1, we talked about the importance of a marketing plan, which looks at marketing conditions, the position within a market, and how to reach and persuade an audience. Your personal sales plan focuses on your customers. Your plan will include advertising customers' expectations and buying trends. It will concentrate on the sales process and set targets for you to focus on. You should start your personal plan with your sales objectives, the specific goals you want to achieve, or even with the goals your company has assigned to you. Next, detail the steps in your plan so that you can achieve the objectives. Examples of these steps can include setting how many contacts you should make in your territory in a given day or week, or the number of emails, phone calls, etc. that you should make. Also, your personal plan should explain how you will measure your success, not just in dollars, but, for example, through increased conversion rates or sales visits. And introduce new goals to track, such as recognizing a buyer's needs and an evaluation of options, both of which we will discuss in subsequent sessions. Make it 1 page at the most. Make the plan 6 months long. Pick your sales goals in your own measurable way, as we've just discussed. Pick the date by which you want to achieve your sales goal. Identify your committed sales activity. Write it down. For instance, I will speak with no less than 2 new prospects each day or 4 days per week. List these sales behaviors and then focus on the sales behaviors we are about to discuss instead of the outcome. A new paradigm has emerged over the last 15 years. As Gordon Borrell of Borrell Associates is fond of saying, the deer now have guns. Keep that metaphor in mind as we review the 5 steps in the buying decision process. Just as buyers now have access to data and information to aid them in the buying process, sellers must adapt and change their hunting ways. Understanding these 5 buying steps comes with a caveat. Meeting these 5 needs will not guarantee a sale. As we will see in future sessions, the conventional solution sales approach, based on values like setting sales activities, is becoming a thing of the past. Now that the buyer is much more knowledgeable and has hundreds of advertising choices, an account executive must reframe the conversation. You want to develop your skills and knowledge to be more teacher-like, bringing insights to the buyer and challenging and revealing needs that the buyer didn't know he or she had. You will reframe the discussion and capitalize on emerging needs for the buyer. This will be a unique advantage that will set you apart from the competition and close more sales. There's a predetermined order in which buying decisions are made. Decision 1, salesperson. Decision 2, company. Decision 3, product decision. 4, price. And finally, time to buy. These decisions are made in sequence. When we meet and make a presentation, it must match the sequence of the buyer's decisions. The 5 steps on the buying decision process are not to be confused with the mechanics of the selling process itself. We will break out this process in the rest of the series. Everything from prospecting to questions you should ask, all the way through how to overcome objections and uncovering needs will be covered. But it is important to step back first and look at the sales cycle from the buyer's point of view. What are the pressure points for a buyer? How do they fit together in the decision-making process? And a better understanding here will help you meet your buyer's needs. A key to success in any selling situation is understanding the customer's buying habits. Attaining an understanding is often difficult to achieve because the advertising process is dynamic and complicated. Advertisers face a complex set of issues and they are overwhelmed with choices. A recent Burrell Associates study of small and medium-sized businesses indicates that the average business fields as many as 27 sales approaches a month, and they listen to 8 sales pitches a month. To cope with all this, advertisers often frame their decision-making into a set of 5 rules to guide them through their actions. It is not usually predetermined, but rather a process that a buyer goes through where they can assess and then perform a series of decisions. Analyzing these 5 buying decisions will help you organize and plan your sales presentations in a way that responds to a buyer's needs. Doing so will allow you to make a presentation and the sale in a confident fashion. To gain a $10,000 commitment, you need a $10,000 relationship. By understanding these steps or decision pressure points, we can build a right relationship. The final sale may be the goal, but getting your customer to buy an ad product or service is just one step in a long process. So let's begin now with step 1. It all starts with you, the salesperson. One of your responsibilities as a good salesperson is to constantly educate yourself. Today's buyer is smarter because of the internet and has more information about ad products than ever. Prospective advertisers do not want a sales pitch. The buyer desires enriching and educational conversation with someone who can bring alternatives and new thinking to the business. Moreover, advertisers want a relationship with sales professionals. It is imperative to ensure sales teams are building relationships instead of just selling widgets. Arm yourself with knowledge and get ready to write down these URLs. Some good sites and emails to sign up for are Local Media Association at localmedia.org, Burrell Associates at burrellassociates.com, Street Fight at streetfightmag.com, the IAB, which is IAB.net. You might want to sign up for their smart briefs. Ad Age Digital, which can be found at adage.com. netnewscheck.com. Media Post, see their publications link for many different kinds of targeted email. And finally, clickz.com, which has lots of good information. A must-do for a salesperson, in particular, is to understand the patterns of investment and reward and effectively manage the process that defines the dynamics of buyer-seller evolution. So, how do we start a customer relationship from scratch? Well, let's take a look at a classic buyer-seller standoff. The seller wants money first. The buyer sits back with arms folded and replies, "Prove to me that you can do what you say." To launch a long-term relationship, one party can take the hit and wait it out, usually the seller. And this is what is known as the all-at-once approach. Or better yet, the seller can attempt a foot-in-the-door approach by skillfully managing the relationship. Rather than going after the entire sale, break up the needs of a buyer into various parts and try to initiate a relationship using one part and selling only this one part. Taking this approach will make it easier to fulfill the needs of the buyer, and it will also allow the buyer to better understand and evaluate your advertising. Even if you are sure of the value, if a buyer doesn't understand what you're doing, it is not going to work. This is why, as a good salesperson, you must build up your knowledge of digital marketing first. The more you know about it, the easier it will be to convey the individual components to the buyer. Effective communication and product knowledge can give you confidence in your ability to sell, which will make your customers more likely to buy your products and services. Successful selling involves developing relationships with people, discovering their needs, matching your products and services to these needs, and communicating the benefits of buying your products and services. Finally, selling to new customers and increasing sales to present customers requires creative selling. In order to be a creative seller, you'll need to first set aside some quiet time for creative thinking. Second, be sure to put your thoughts on paper. Follow the plan we outlined previously, but go a little further in this process. At least twice a year, you should dedicate a minimum of half a day or more to strategically thinking about your selling. Most sellers acknowledge they think about their territories and customers daily. When pressed, however, most will admit they don't have time to creatively think about blue sky scenarios that may happen a year from now. So taking the time to think about this will give you room to shoot for the stars. Using your sales history and market research, you can forecast the number and value of sales you expect to make. You can then set targets for the sales you would like to make and figure out ways to achieve your target. Let's look at number 2 in the 5 steps, your company. First thing, is your media outlet a good fit for the business you are calling on? Your media company is no doubt well known by everyone in the market, but are the demographics of the buyer's clientele a proper match for your marketing reach? Think about the time and effort you will put into making a sale to the wrong buyer. Even if you succeed in making the sale, the results will probably disappoint the buyer and affect your reputation. You're sure to have lots of information on your traditional media's audience, but you will need to have all you can on your specific website statistics and demographics. Your company should have surveys or polls that will identify the traits of your average site visitor. Oftentimes, the demographics will change by time of day or day of week. In addition, the demographics and usage for tablets and smartphones will vary a great deal, so your company should be surveying and profiling these users also. Later in the module, we will discuss in depth qualifying the customer, but you can save yourself a lot of time and trouble by looking for natural fits with your general audience. In addition, the audience on the web will probably be very different. It may be a unique audience that will appeal to many businesses that are not your traditional media's buyer. For example, we know that local hotels may not be advertising in your local market newspaper, but they may find it appealing to be on your local site if you can show a large amount of out-of-market site traffic. Your company's reputation is part of the decision-making process of the buyer. To succeed as a business, you need customers to buy your products and services. You need them to recommend your products and services. Reputation is the emotional connection between people and companies. Reputation can be measured by the level of trust, admiration, respect, and good feeling. Companies with strong reputations have this emotional connection. As a media company, you have an advantage when it comes to trust. The reputation of your outlet has been built up over the years, and in most cases it can help over lesser known, particularly out-of-town competitors. But remember, this is changing, and buyers are increasingly less likely to get behind a particular seller than behind a particular insight, a strategy that demands a very different approach across the digital buyer's decision process. Another important factor for the buyer considering your company will be testimonials about the company. Good testimonials do 2 things. They directly appeal to a prospect's trigger points, the specific pains or problems that the prospect needs solved, and demonstrate specifically how your service has benefited the real people, that is, solve the pain or problem, that are just like your prospect. Testimonials reduce the fears, anxieties, and perceived risks the prospect may have before making a purchase decision. The testimonial illustrates that your company helps people just like your prospect to successfully solve a pain or a problem the prospect has. Next in the buying decision cycle is number 3, product. You want to be sure that you have the right products and that you are properly matching your products and services to the buyer. This story is a good example. At the height of the housing market bubble, a developer built 5 new homes right next to a busy intersection and opposite an ugly industrial property. The plot of land is just on the border of a much nicer county, but actually sits in a county that is much less desirable. The properties went on sale for more than $400,000 just as the real estate market crashed. And, as you can imagine, There they stayed for 3 years until finally they were rented out privately. So as you can see, the developer made a huge misjudgment and provided completely the wrong product in the wrong area and at the wrong price to the wrong target market. Ultimately, his development was flawed right from the start. He ignored the fundamental rule that you have to sell the right product to the right market at the right price. Not all advertisers are suited to everything in your marketing portfolio, so it is good to get to know how your products and services best interact with intended audiences. Remember, the process of deciding where to place ads, how many ads to sell, and how much to charge for these ads can be a little overwhelming. So with a new prospect, you want to make sure you start off right. Mismatching a buyer with the wrong advertising product will ultimately lead to frustrating and disappointing results. Here's where the value of understanding and conveying the message about the difference in branding versus call to action advertising becomes important. Let's review what we discussed in session number 1, Digital Marketing Basics, about branding and call to action. Many small business advertisers that we have talked with think internet ads are only about lead generation. But we should be aware that the internet also provides a high degree of branding effectiveness when the right ad format is used. Let's begin with an overview of lead generation. Lead generation, sometimes referred to as call to action, is used to describe the generation of interest or inquiry into products or services of a business. Leads can be generated for a variety of purposes, for example, list building, e-newsletter list acquisition, or for winning customers. There are many tactical methods for generating leads. These methods may also include non-paid sources such as organic search engine results or referrals from existing customers. But most lead generation marketing is devoted to either gaining quality leads, which is the inclination of the lead or prospect to take the next action towards a purchase, or to help the prospect find the right product or service from a business. Branding is the process of creating a relationship or a connection between a company's product and emotional perception of the customer for the purpose of generation segregation among competition and building loyalty among customers. The Coke advertising campaigns are one of the better known examples of brand advertising. It creates a connection through awareness of the name, the logo, the colors, and even audio and video. Look at how display ads, button and banners can be used in either category. For lead generation, it requires compelling offer and call to action. It's dependent on the creative. It requires a capture mechanism, such as sign up for an email or sign up for a deal alert. Branding, it's an increasingly common form of online advertising. Frequency is very important. It increases the credibility of the advertiser, and rich media is often used to increase the awareness in these campaigns. You are selling a product that people already know they want, but your advertising offers unique benefits that they can't find just anywhere. If they can find the exact same ad product for the same price at your competitor, why would they need your product? You are also selling a consumable product. Advertising is an ongoing service. That is why it is so important to realize that you are creating long-term customers with every ad sale. Your product and services differentiation makes a difference to the buyer. The fourth step in the buying decision process is price. Buyers have radically departed from the old habits of buying advertising, and nowhere will this be more exemplified than when it comes to price. As sellers, digital is vexing because we often feel reduced to a participant in a price-driven contest among competing media. In order to get out in front of this situation, you will have to find the right kind of buyer based on different criteria than in the past. We'll cover that in the next session. For the purpose of this session, we'll examine the role price plays for the buyer. Markets vary greatly, and depending on the market you are in, the pricing of your ads can vary greatly. Many times, the pricing is determined due to your competitors setting the average price and your advertisers demanding a price that they are comfortable paying. While you are most likely going to have a price chart, you'll also want to research what your competitors are charging and what local advertisers are paying so that you don't sell yourself short or price your ad spots so high that no one in your market will buy them. Researching competitors' sites can also give you an idea of the types of advertisers that may be attracted to your site. It is important that you don't price too high or too low. Compare and know how your prices match up, not just with your local competition, but with the pure play companies selling local digital advertising. We'll explore this area in depth in future sessions. As the seller, you need to help the buyer understand the significance of all the pricing variables. Many factors enter into the pricing decision, and there is no simple formula that you can magically use to close a sale. We will examine pricing in more detail in subsequent sessions. If your pricing is too high, it will affect your ability to sell. On the other hand, if your pricing is too low, it may get you quick sales, but you will be making less than you should be making and leaving money on the table. But the meaning of price depends on the viewpoint of the buyer and the seller. Each party to the exchange brings different needs and objectives that help describe a fair price, and in the end, both parties must agree or there is no sale. The internet has changed the way advertising is priced. It has created a more efficient market space. The buyer now has equal access to information about products, prices, and more. Efficient markets are characterized by lower prices, among other things, and ad spending on the internet has grown tremendously, while the cost of online advertising has become more economical. For many buyers, the cost is in the value, or the sum of values, such as money, time, etc., and the advertiser will place a value on your ad products based on a reference point, usually from past purchases or the competition. They are basing the value on their expectations, needs, and previous experiences. And finally, for a buyer, it ultimately comes down to the time to buy. So when the buyer can answer yes to the first 4 buying questions that we have covered, you will have almost closed the sale. If you've responded to these 4 needs in the right fashion, you'll be able to move towards a closed sale and put in place a timeline for the campaign. The advertiser will decide whether your timetable fits with their requirements and make their decision accordingly. No one wants to spend money before it is necessary. Of course, if you give them sound advice on why they should buy now, a prospect will want to hear that. Above all, remember that people buy because it is clear to them that you, the seller, truly believes in what his or her company offers. This conviction is more important to buyers than all the facts in your presentation. Your ability to meet the prospect's 5 buying decisions is what we call giving them that conviction. The better you understand the 5 buying decisions, the better you can design a presentation that serves the prospect's real needs and gets results. After all, people buy for their reasons, not yours. The 5 steps on the buying decision process are not to be confused with the mechanics of the selling process itself. We will be breaking out this process in the rest of the series. But let's review this session. Just as a business needs to have a marketing plan to succeed, you need to have a solid personal sales plan. There are 2 requirements for personal sales planning. First, set aside some quiet time for creative thinking, and second, be sure to put your thoughts on paper using the simple goals and steps. The 5 steps of buying decisions that a buyer goes through before a sale is made are: salesperson. You are the person responsible for understanding the steps the buyer goes through in the decision-making process. As the salesperson, you must seek to uncover the buyer's needs and be adaptive. Company. Your company's reputation and trust as a local source for advertising is a big advantage, but perceptions are changing. Product. You should have an arsenal of products and services that you can mix and match to meet your buyer's needs, looking ahead for products that the buyer may not have even realized they needed. Price. Compare and know how your prices match up, not just with your local competition, but with the pure play companies selling local digital advertising in your market. Price shopping is the norm. You can get out in front of it by uncovering new needs for the buyer and differentiating yourself. Time to buy. When the previous steps are satisfied, the buyer can make a decision on when to buy. If you have reached a consensus on the important fundamentals, the products, prices, and services, the buyer will make the purchase on their timetable. This concludes session number 2. In the rest of the media module, we will devote the sessions to the building blocks that will help you improve your account executive skills so you can perform at a high level, offering clients successful marketing plans and increased revenue. I'm Peter Conti, and if you have any questions for me or the team at Local Media Association, we can be reached at salescert@localmedia.org.